When DICE announced that they were going to make a World War I Battlefield, a lot of people asked me for my opinion and thoughts on this title. And I honestly struggled. At first, I kind of cringed and said, they're gonna mess it up. Then I watched a trailer with the white stripes playing in the background and went, what the hell did I just watch? And I was actually speechless, and I had problems processing what I just watched. Then I saw the E3 footage, and I said, well, it's like Bad Company 2 with World War I weapons. Maybe it's not that awful. And then I played the beta, and I actually pre-ordered the game. So if you're going to ask me, should you pre-order the game, I'll get to that later, and I'll explain to you why I personally pre-ordered the game. So before I get super critical on Battlefield 1, and a little harsh, I want you to know where I come from. Battlefield used to be my favorite series. People asked, are you a PC gamer? Do you play World of Warcraft? I used to go, nah, I play Battlefield. Because I was a Battlefield player. I was so proud of that. I don't know why, but that was my game. If you ask me today what's my favorite game, Battlefield series is probably not in the top 5 anymore. I grew up playing Battlefield 1942 in junior high. I love the Desert Combat mod. I love Battlefield Vietnam. Battlefield 2 was like the perfect game for me. Plus Project Reality and Forgotten Hope mods and all those other great mods that came out for those early Battlefields. And I was even okay with Bad Company 1 and 2. Those had pretty solid multiplayer and a really good single player campaign. But somewhere, DICE thought, we're going to compete with COD, we're going to do yearly releases, we're going to make a game for console and PC. I felt like they lost their way, and they didn't make the game that I wanted anymore. So Battlefield 3 released. It wasn't bad. It wasn't the greatest game ever. I thought it was just kind of good. About the time I started this YouTube channel, Battlefield 4 went into beta, and I thought I might feature Battlefield 4 on my YouTube channel. After playing the beta, no way in hell was I going to buy that game, let alone upload videos of it. So I skipped Battlefield 4. And I know they fixed some issues with Battlefield 4 recently, but still, when it was released, I consider it complete garbage. Then Hardline came out, and I saw the E3 footage of that, and I went, holy crap, they've lost their freaking minds. And then I tried the Battlefront beta last year, and I went, kind of boring, isn't for me. So as somebody who pre-ordered or bought every Battlefield until Battlefield 4, somewhere something changed. And Battlefield 1 has brought me back in a way, although it isn't the game that I want. So DICE and EA are a company to make money, and they're a game company that makes games for the masses. And I know a lot of us on the channel like realistic and simulation gameplay, and unfortunately we're lost in the mass market. So real quickly, I want to say, if you're not happy at the simulation or realistic level that Battlefield 1 has shown you, you need to back creators of games like Verdun. These small-time studios with a handful of people trying to create these games don't have publishers to fund them. Nice fancy studios, they don't have unlimited resources. They need your financial support. So if you looked at Battlefield 1 and you said, ugh, it's way too unrealistic for me, and you don't have a copy of Verdun in your Steam account, shame on you. You need to back the game creators that are making the games you want. So, that being said, why did I pre-order Battlefield 1? Battlefield was always a social game to me, and I have so many great memories with Kobe back in Battlefield 2, LAN parties with Battlefield 1942, fun with friends in Battlefield 3, and even recently fun in the Battlefield 1 beta. It's a social game, and if you have friends that will play Battlefield with you, you will have an incredible time in this sandbox environment. If you play kind of lone wolf, I don't think you'll quite find the enjoyment in a world like this. So why did I pre-order Battlefield 1? I had fun. Even though there's 100 things that weren't up to what I consider standard, and there's 100 things I could complain about, I actually had fun. I had fun riding horses and cutting people down my saber. I had fun multi-crew vehicles with tanks and planes. I had fun hitting people in the back with a saber and a bayonet and an axe and a shovel and a pickaxe, and that's what brought fun. And if you go looking into a Battlefield game for a realistic or simulation experience, you're barking up the wrong franchise. I think they've lost that identity way back around Battlefield 2 was probably the last game I'll say that was any realistic. my main concern going into it was how flyable are the planes. I expected absolute crap, and it wasn't good, but it wasn't awful. The planes I considered were usable. And once the game releases, I'm sure I could probably come up with a key binding or enough tweaks where I could have enough successful planes to be happy. Is it the greatest? No, but it's usable. Tanks were a little fast, and they're a little bizarre. First off being that they have 6 or 5 round magazines, and then you stop to reload, and they're way too fast, and this. But I'm glad that armor is actually strong again. One of the things I despised about Battlefield 4 was that you're an M1 Abrams, and you felt like it said Tonka truck on the side, and one RPG, and your thing was going sky high. Now if you're in a tank and you roll through a building or you roll through a squad, they fear you like it should be. Tanks were devastating things in World War 1, and I'm glad to see that they're devastating in Battlefield 1. Another thing I really liked was the performance. It was one of the better betas I played in terms of stability and performance. The game looks pretty good. It looks like a 2016 release. I know a lot of people say it looks like Battlefront. I kind of have to defend DICE on this a little bit, and you need to kind of understand where DICE is. It's a business decision. They took the Frostbite engine from, let's say, Battlefield 4 and Hardline to Battlefront. They spent money, they spent developer time to code and produce this game engine to look like it did for Battlefront. They're not going to rip away all their work and then make their engine look completely different, because it probably wouldn't sell more or less copies, right? So they're going to keep adding on to Frostbite, and we're probably going to see the next game look like the previous game, because they're not going to make a ton of changes to their game engine, right? It's just going to be little additions every release, and it's a franchise. The games are going to look similar. So like I said, I don't know. I had fun. I can't stress that enough. It's the best multi-crew Battlefield I've ever played. The World War I planes make multi-crew great. The World War I tanks make multi-crew great. They made a lot of good changes I liked. They made where you're a pilot, you actually have a pilot class now, or a crewman class, where you get a Mauser or you get a carbine. Whereas before you used to have people that spawn like heavy support. They used to spawn support with a machine gun, fly over a point, jump out, and then the plane would crash. They wasted a plane, and now you have a support guy parachuting. Now if you spawn in a plane just to jump on a flag, you spawn with a broom handle Mauser or something. I don't think it's going to prevent that problem from happening again, but it's nice to see that DICE is taking feedback and trying to fix it. But let me get to my issues with the game, and I know where a lot of people's issues are. They titled this as a World War I themed game, and I did not really see much of World War I in this game, and I know a lot of people didn't. To 80% or 90% of Battlefield 1 players, they probably won't even know or care. The history nerd in me is screaming, what the hell? And I have to tell that person to shut up, because I'm actually having fun in a video game. But if you can't get over being in a German tank with British emblems on the side, don't buy this game, because I think that's what's going to be happening a lot. And that kind of bothered me. You know, German bombers being flown by British crews, Turkish tanks that were British tanks. I hope that changes a bit more when the game actually releases and they add more vehicles, but I can see where that's a major turnoff. Of course, they do have to balance a game, and I don't know what the best solution is, because I know every country didn't have a heavy tank or a bomber or an attacker or whatnot. But it's still a turnoff to see a German heavy tank with big British emblems on the side. I get that. And them not adding in the French or Ruskies to first release, that's a huge slap in the face too. What's even more bizarre is that the bolt-action rifle was the backbone to those armies in World War I. And it's hard to find those guns in the Battlefield 1 beta, and they'll probably be hard to find in the game. DICE took this idea of include as many automatic weapons as possible and semi-automatic weapons to make the game kind of feel as much as possible to the other Battlefields. They didn't want their customer base to be in shock when everybody's running off Liam fields. I think that's a shame, but I understand what they're doing. They're trying to make the game relatable to other games because they want to market the game to the masses. It's another financial decision, which is where a lot of people's disgust comes from when you talk about EA. It's all about how big can our player base be and how much can we make on it, because they're a business, and that's what businesses do. Right or wrong, that's just what they're out here for. Make money. But I do wish that if you're a medic, you could at least get in Liam Field or a Springfield 1903 or whatever, right? You have to play Recon or Scout to be able to have a bolt-action rifle. I think that's a shame. And also, all the kits and weapons also seemed very labeled to Battlefield 4. They just wanted to seem like if you played a Battlefield game before, this isn't too foreign to you. I understand that, and I'm not upset at it, but I'm not in love with it either. My last complaint is that the game felt a little easy. You could tell they just toned the learning curve way down. Anybody could pick it up, play it for half an hour, and have success at it. I understand that's a turn on to most people because they don't want the game to be super hard or super frustrating or whatever, right? I love Battlefield 2 because it was a hard game to play. It was hard to learn how to fly a jet. It was hard to fly a chopper and have success. The first-person ground combat was at time brutal and devastating. And even in Battlefield 3, you still had those kind of brutal firefights on the ground. In this game, somebody runs up to you with a Beretta M1918 and you're dead. And I hope they balance that a bit more. But it's kind of just left click, spray, and kill. I hope that they change a bit of the damages and the way ballistics work and whatnot, but I wasn't super happy. It felt like Battlefront to me in that regard. I felt more like I was shooting a Stormtrooper blaster than I was a Mauser. So the last thing I'll say before I get onto my final point is it is neat to see a lot of weapons that were in small production numbers or prototypes or were thrown away in history actually be put into a video game. You have a whole list of guns I can go over, and I might talk about in a future date, but it is neat to see them get in the game. I just wish they didn't overshadow the guns that were the backbone of the armies at the time. But why I bought Battlefield 1, why it will be coming to the channel, and should you be buying Battlefield 1? First off, like I said, I had fun. A lot of people that I know will be buying it, and I'll be playing it because I think it's a great social game. Like I said, I played at LAN parties and multiplayer for hours and hours and hours. And maybe I'm chasing those old memories, but I hope to have some derpy fun moments in a sandbox game. Should you buy this game? I'm gonna probably say no. Unless you have a bunch of friends that will be buying it and playing it with you, I have a hard time recommending any Battlefield game anymore. Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4 had a terrible single player. I actually don't remember it. I know I played them, but I can't remember them. Battlefield 1 single player looks, I don't know. Use your own judgment when you see the trailers. It's a $60 game. I did not see enough in the beta to say this was a $60 game. Plus premium, which is, what, $110 total US for the game and premium. No French, no Russian included at the start. Limited vehicles possibly, limited maps, I don't know. So right now, it's a no from me. Is the game bad? No. Is the game great? No. It's average. It's like a Honda Civic of video games right now for me. Reason I'm bringing it to the channel, though, is because I plan on just having a bunch of fun with Mo and Kobe and whoever else buys the game and just have some adventures. Running over horses with airplanes, because that's what Battlefield is. Stupid moments with your friends. Another reason that I bought it is because I'm hoping that some of you out there will pick it up, because if we can, we will be planning on renting a server and hopefully playing with some of you. Maybe run some community events on stream, or possibly even make some videos on the server with you guys. So I think that's exciting, and it's a 64-man server, plenty of room for a lot of people, and I hope that's a possibility. Battlefield 1 I have mixed feelings about, and I don't know if this made it any clearer or worse for you, but so I know right now that DICE is making a bunch of adjustments to how Conquest works, how Russia's working, how the light tanks will work. I don't think that's going to make a big difference on how many copies of the game they're going to sell or the overall success. Like I said, variation of vehicles, changing ballistics a bit, changing the classes. They got a lot of work to do. It's not a bad game, but they still got a lot of work to do. But where this game can really shine is in the DLC. A Trench Warfare DLC, and besides the Trench Warfare DLC, just listening to community input and fixing what is lacking in the game through the DLC. So to wrap it up, my final opinion of Battlefield 1 is that it's not the World War I game we wanted. It's not going to be a great game. It's not going to be a bad game. It's just going to be kind of an average or good game, I think. And I find it sad that we have to be thankful that they added a server browser back into the game. That's where we're at. 2016. Battlefield has a server browser. I guess we have to celebrate the small victories.